Oh my God, we are back at Rankable. I'm hyped. I mean, like pre-conversation, I am hyped because today I've got Crystal Carter join me. Crystal is the head of head of SEO communications at Wix. She's all over the place. I mean, what conference hasn't she spoken at? She's going to be at MozCon coming up. She's basically 15 years experience working with SEO marketing clients around the world, like Disney, McDonald's, so many more. And today we're going to talk about how you up your SEO skills. We're talking about like how SEO is a work in progress. Crystal, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm so pleased to be here. I'm such a big fan, and I'm so glad to have you back. And congratulations on your recent addition. And I'm really hyped.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. It's so funny. It's like I did the SEO weekly and I had to make like a crawling joke when you have a new baby. I'm like, she'll get there. She'll get there. No, but same sort of thing. Like I love our community and you are someone I really admire because you are all about kind of lifting up others, promoting others. In fact, actually, we recorded this episode a few weeks ago, but you recently put up a resource on your own personal website all about the women community in SEO, all these resources or businesses or courses made by women, made for women. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration for that and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, so I am a very active member in the Women in Tech SEO community. I'm actually wearing the t-shirt right now from the festival. And I think one of the things that I've always inspired by that community, there are so many incredible SEOs in that community. And I think that very often people say, oh, you should follow this person, or, oh, you should have more women writers, or you should have more women speakers. And people sort of sometimes say these things as if it's a charity, as if we don't have literally some of the best SEOs in the world making some amazing things, making amazing resources, and driving forward our industry, who are women. So there's a lot of people who are very high profile. If you think about people like Lily Ray or Aleda or Marie Haynes, or Arish, who runs Women in Tech SEO, there's a lot of people who are very high profile, but there's a lot of people who are doing stuff, who are incredible, who are making courses, who have whole resources, ebooks, data studio templates, and lots of things like that, podcasts that are amazing resources, and they're really passionate about SEO, and the work that they do makes SEO better. So I was looking around to find some different resources anyway, and I started putting this together, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a list. And it's because I think that it's a lot about like what you do and what cool stuff you do and what things you're passionate about. And I think that there's so many women who are doing so many incredible things, and like they're really good at JavaScript SEO, they're really good at e-commerce SEO, and they're just really good at it. They are also women, but they're also really good at it. And so I think that like let's just have a little place where we can sort of celebrate. And so I think I started it a little while ago, and it had about 30 folks on it, and it's now up to about 55. If anyone is listening and can think of a fantastic community for women, or made by women, or a resource that's made by women, please tag me on Twitter. I will happily add it. A few people tagged me after they saw the list. I'm also not doing it exclusively for English. I me hablo un poquito de español. So I have a few shout outs to like mujeres in español, or sorry, mujeres in SEO, Latinas in SEO, and also a few other Spanish speaking communities. But if you know anyone who's in another non-English community, who's crushing it for SEO resources, who's writes that book or hosts that podcast, like, do let me know. I'd love to add them.
I love that. I mean, that feels like it ties in. Recently, you were on a webinar with our own Mike King on SEMrush talking about mom, and like the big thing there is all around multi-language, like multilingual sort of communication, and this whole idea of kind of democratizing the internet from a language perspective. So I was talking with Cindy Crum recently, and we are talking about this idea of like, there are so many underrepresented languages, like just because English or, Mandarin is like the most spoken language in the world, if you're Googling for some sort of knowledge center and something comes up in a different language, that might not get surfaced, and it's almost like penalized. And like, I guess Mum is trying to fix that.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that it's because there's so many people who are doing so many amazing things in multiple languages, and we're really missing out on that. I mean, certainly on Twitter, they've got pretty good language translation actually for some of their tweets. And there's been a few times when I've seen, tweets that were really good content, and I was able to get an idea of what they were talking about via the translated information. And I think that certainly, if I think about the SEO communities, there are some of the most talented SEOs that I know actually don't speak English as their first language. It's actually their second language. And I think actually understanding a second language and how to parse language and move that around is actually a real benefit for things like semantic SEO and understanding entities and all that sort of stuff, which all feeds into MUM. But I think that with regards to how that plays out with wider content creation, yeah, I think Google wants to make sure that they're seeing the best content, not just the best content in English, but the best content. And sometimes it's the case that, I think the internet is more, I don't know if I'm being, I hope this is the right language, is more mature or something, or I guess there's more content in English than a lot of other languages. And so I think that in some cases it will be the case where there might be a topic that's been really popular in English and is now being introduced into an area that has a different language, and so that content might be seen there. But it will also go the other way. For instance, so there's different trends that show up. Like, I don't know, for instance, like the one that comes to mind is coconut water, which coconut water has been a thing in India, for instance, for like, it's always been a thing in India. So there may very well be some fantastic content on coconut water in India. That would be something that would help to make the conversations about that particular topic more well-rounded in English languages. So it might be something that those are things that as new trends move around different world, you actually have more expert content on that topic, even if it's new to New York, it's not new to other places. So I think that's something that should give us better information and help make the web better.
And that's the thing that I think makes SEO so interesting, right? Like, SEO is kind of, as we were talking about earlier, is a work in progress, right? Like, whether it's, adapting to the world around you, or kind of always trying to iterate and improve your own content, your own website, you really do have to consistently iterate. What's your perception of like the work in progress aspect of SEO?
I think it's something that I absolutely love about SEO. It's something, and I think it's one of the things that makes SEO such an interesting industry for people who are new to the industry. So I think that there's constantly something that's being newly developed, and because it's a new method, a new technique, a new tool. People who master that tool quickly and master that tool well can become the experts in that tool, even if they haven't been in the industry for a long time. A classic case is GA4. So we have universal analytics, and there's tons of people who are really well versed in universal analytics. Like, I raise my hand for that. However, I am a complete noob with regards to GA4, and so there's now certain voices within our community. I added them to the resource actually. Who so I'm thinking of like Bree Anderson, Krista Seiden, Dana DiTomaso. There's a few other people as well, and they're all about it. And there are people who maybe you didn't know about before because you maybe weren't in that space, but now everybody needs to know about their content. And so, for instance, as other things come around, like visual search is something that's coming to the fore. So people who've been spending a lot of time with visual search and understanding visual branding are actually going to be much better placed to optimize content for that. So I'm speaking at MozCon about visual search. And one of the things that occurred to me was actually people who have been doing it for the gram are actually really well placed for making this work, because there's a lot of, they've been spending a lot of time like making sure that their images are very consistent and making sure that they've got different positioning, and all of that composition work is actually going to have an impact on SEO in the future. So when new ideas come in, when new tools come in, when new updates come in, there's always a need to upskill for your clients, and that I absolutely love, because it just means that no day is the same.
Yeah, well, I'm completely with you, and I'm fascinated. Obviously, don't want to reveal too much about what you're speaking about at MozCon, but like I can imagine when it comes to visual, and that also plays into the idea of how much of it is just kind of old school psychological marketing versus tools like structured data and making sure that you are, kind of installing your content, your videos, your images, all that into, your existing corpus in a way that's easily discoverable by Google. Like, how much are we depending on us to do the structured data versus Google to just see a video and understand the context and then give you the appropriate rankings?
So I think with SEO, and this is one of the reasons why learning is super important, is it's always like a layered process. I always talk about like layering your SEO, and this is why like SEO is never done. When people are like, "Is the SEO done now?" I'm like, no, it's not. It's not done. It's not. You're never done. And so it's always like a layered process. So yeah. Having your file names correct is good. Having your file size is good. Having their files in modern formats is really good. All of that stuff that we've always done to optimize images so that they crawl well is all super valuable. But, and I talked about this in my article for Moz at the beginning of the year. Google has amazing tools like Cloud Vision AI that help them to read images, and there's a few things that they're able to see through those images that will come into play, and how you position those and how you prioritize those in your image composition. In the article from us at the beginning of the year, I showed an example of my teapot. I have a teapot, a little enamel teapot, and I showed the picture I showed the teapot with the spout facing forward, and then I showed the teapot with the spout facing to the side, and the tool, the AI tool, was able to understand the teapot much better as a teapot when it was to the side in profile, where you could see the little handle and here is my spout, when it was only able to see it in the facing forward. And you would have the same alt text, the same meta tags, the same file formats for either photo, but the composition there makes a difference. So I think that it's layered. All of those things are still valid, but I think also you're going to need to think about how the images are working in other ways as well. And I think that it's something that will evolve, and I think it's something there's a really fascinating space to see how it'll go forward.
Do you think that, I guess it depends situation, but to what extent do you think people who are investing in images, investing in video, like these multimodal, multimedia content, will benefit in terms of like how their rankings kind of, improve over the next few years as MUM continues to like identify these connections? Like, do you think there will be a distinct advantage for, organizations that invest in multimedia?
Yeah, I do. So I think that it's a case of I think one of the reasons why MUM has and why Google is going down this multimodal path is it's a continuation of the sort of mobile first sort of era. So with our phones, essentially the internet is not just a sort of a passive thing. It's not something that we just digest. It's something that we interact with in real time. Right. So if something happens, if there's a parade in New York or something, I don't have to wait for the newspaper to print the information about the parade. I can stream live the parade from my phone, and that is information that Google wants, and that is information that Google needs to be able to parse, needs to be able to understand. because one of the things I talked about in the discussion about for SEMrush is that we think that Google, as SEOs, sometimes we think that Google wants to rank websites, that's what they want to do. That's not what they want to do. And if you ask them, they won't tell you that. They say they want to rank information. They want to provide information. So if I want to know what happened at the parade, they want to give me the best information for that. It might be a website. It might be a live stream video. It might be a TikTok. It might be whatever. But they want to be able to provide that information because that will make their customers happy, and that's what they want to do. So if you want to make Google's customers happy, and you want them to make you happy by sending those information, then you need to be able to provide that information. So if it is the case that the kind of content that people want for what happened at the parade is visual, then that's really useful. And it's likely that I think some people will say, well, I don't work in a very visual first industry. You know, I'm an accountant, or, you know, I'm a tax attorney, or I'm I don't know. I can't think of another
something in the government, or
right. Something like that. I do that sort of thing. But even in those spaces, visuals actually make your content will tend to make your content better. Diagrams are a lot easier to understand for a lot more people than 3,000 words across the text. Infographics are really, really useful. And it's a technique that I've used with clients before, where, you know, I had a client who was talking about like data warehousing and things like that. And like pictures of data warehouses are not, nobody wants confusing. To see that.
Yeah.
like, here, take a look at this server. Oh yeah. Like people aren't that, they're not that into it. However, it's a complex issue. It's a really complex issue, data warehousing and all that sort of stuff. So if you have a diagram of how that works, that's really, really useful. And I've seen that rank. I've seen it, and I've seen them like have their images, the images improve, the image impressions improve, the website improve. The other thing that I've seen is that if you have good images across the web, you're going to be showing in lots more channels. So and media that you're going to be showing in lots more different tabs. So we talk about page one of Google, but like there are many pages of Google, and like some of them are like page one place might be completely irrelevant for what the thing is. Like let's say your page one for flights to Tahiti. Like let's say you've got the #1 ranking blue link for flights to Tahiti.
It's not even going to be on page one, is it?
It's not. It's going to be on Google Travel. Like that's where it's going to be. So like that's where you need to be. So you can call it page one, but like really you need to be on Google Travel because that's what's relevant for that information. So it's important to think about that, and to make sure that your content reflects that. And I think a lot of people think of content as blogs or content as written word, but content is whatever people need. So one of the things that I really like, we spend a lot of time staring at screens, like to the point where like I had to get glasses over the pandemic. And I didn't wear glasses before, but I had to get glasses through the pandemic.
I feel you.
Right? So sometimes, there's a real rise of audio streaming, social things, Clubhouse, Google, Twitter Spaces, podcasts, and things, because you can get information and you can connect with things, but you don't have to stare at a screen. So these are, and we're on a podcast right now. Look at that.
It all connects. It's all connected.
So we need to make sure that the content that we're making is connecting with users in a lot of different ways, and in the most optimal way for that particular type of information.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing that you call out with like SEO is like you do have all of these different entities and all of these different competitors and all of these different channels that are showing up. It's becoming harder and harder to even get people back to your own website anyway. It's almost like, to what extent are you trying to, do your brand awareness on, to your point about like Google Travel? It's like sometimes you'll want to show up on Twitter as opposed to on your own website. So, you can own the entire SERPs, because that one blue link isn't necessarily, it's not going to drive as much traffic as it normally did 5-10 years ago.
So yeah, it's very complex. Like I've spoken on different podcasts but about how SEO is a team sport now. Like it's a team sport. You can't just like sit in your little like SEO cave and like just do it by yourself. it's a team sport. You have to engage all the channels, and actually the channels impact each other. So I recently was discussing indexing, and people like that discover but not index, which is, I'm just like, it's like, you're killing me, Google. What are you doing? They're like, yeah, we saw it. Not that interested.
Now,
and I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, I spent ages on that blog. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. We're going to look at something else. And you're like,
they swipe left on you.
Honestly, like, come on, like, tough crowd. So the thing about that is, like, I'm like, okay, fine, Google, you don't want to put it on the index. I'm going to put it on my Twitter feed. And do you know what happens is that goes on the index anyway. And if somebody clicks on that, then that counts as organic. And so you didn't put it on the index, I did. Same thing with like Google My Business. So this is something that small businesses, if you put your blog, you write a new blog, put it on your Google My Business or Google Business profile, not Google My Business, sorry, put it on your Google Business profile. And then when people click on that, that also counts as organic. And again, you don't have to wait for them to put it on the index because you put it there yourself. So all of these things can help with all of the different channels work with each other. So the Twitter feed will go onto will count, those links are clickable from the SERP. And when people click them from the SERP, they count as organic traffic. When the links from Google Business profile, when you post when you post your updates, those clicks count as organic. So you can do all of those things and make sure they work. Another one, there's Cool is Cool on Twitter.
Yeah, Ross.
Yes, he's like constantly talking about content distribution, and I got involved with that, and he's right. One of the things that he said, one of the things that he's saying this is like, you know, like blast your RSS, make sure that you're getting it out on various different feeds and stuff like that. And it does make a difference. So you know, make sure that you are showing your content where it is, so that you're showing Google how things are working. And there's some great tools for automation for this. I'm a big fan of RSS, which is kind of like old school internet, things. But the RSS is kind of making a comeback, partially because of podcasts, but also because of like automation stuff. So Zapier, which is a tool I absolutely love, you can automate some of your social feeds so that your RSS, so you make that content and it doesn't just sit on your website hoping that someone might discover it. You put it your RSS, and you can make sure that it goes out to Twitter, it goes out to Facebook, it goes out to whatever channels you need to do, and you can format it appropriately, et cetera, maximize it for organic, and all of that helps with all of the things. I think for your website in this world of like all of these different channels is your HQ. And if I can do a shameless plug for Wix, one of the things that I love about Wix and about the Wix CMS is a lot of people think that it's like a website builder, and yes, it is, and that's our bread and butter. However, one of the things that Wix does is we have a lot of those things built in, so you don't have to get a plugin to auto tweet
smart.
You don't have to get a Facebook plugin to do that thing. So they're built in. You press a button after that. We have an RSS built into every site. We have lots of other things that allow you to build your things, and we have like things that are very similar to we have like Twitter, where you can build email campaigns within the CMS. You can build like social campaigns within the CMS, and all of this, like, to my mind, like coming from an agency background, is saving time, because like I said, it needs to be HQ, but you need to be connected to all of the different spaces. So if you're able to do that via your CMS or via whatever framework you're able to do, then your website, you know, should be where people come home to. So you have all of these different things everywhere, but like at the end of the day, like they need to be able to come to your website and get like the real deal. Like, so let's say they've seen all the hype on the Instagram, or they've seen all the hype on TikTok or Twitch or wherever. They want to come back to your website, and Google's spending a lot of time with Mum is really interesting because it helps them. They're with the images and with their entities and with the knowledge panel and with all of those different data points that they have. They're much better able to identify like EAT. And also they just announced another thing where you can like get information about this source in the SERP, which is like really big EAT.
Well, I remember the days back when I was in school, and you know, back when the internet was relatively new, and they're like, you know, your teachers wouldn't allow you to source anything from the internet because it wasn't trustworthy, and like that. And then Wikipedia comes along, you're like, okay, you can actually trust it. But like, this is like Google taking it to the next level, where they're like, this is why, you know, here's what's actually going on with this website, where they get their information, whether you can trust or not. You cover so many good things, and it's almost like a new paradigm. It's gonna be interesting, the development of SEO, where it's like traditionally everyone thinks about it in terms of their own website, but it really is SEO is like, where are you showing up no matter what the channel is? Like, I love this idea of like your website being your HQ, but the SEO might in the future have to work with social, have to work with digital PR to show up everywhere else. And all that will count towards your search engine optimization. Crystal, I could talk to you about all this stuff like forever. You're so smart. It's fun to like geek out about SEO, but I wanna let's do some rankings. What do you say? You wanna rank some stuff for me?
Let's do it.
Okay, rapid fire ranking time. The name of the show is Rankable. So I'm going to ask Crystal to just share her top things in a variety of SEO related categories, and we're just going to go through it. So first off, we'll keep it light and fun. Rank just general. What are your 3 top favorite things in this world? What are your 3 favorite things?
My 3 favorite things are music. I absolutely love music, and I love spending time with my boy. And also I love to do SEO, which is ridiculous, but it's true.
We're like embarrassing geeks about it, but we love what we do, and that's what you're living for. Okay, rank your best SEO marketing win, or SEO or marketing win.
My best SEO marketing win was that I had a client, and she was making X amount of pounds per month, and it was like September, and she was like, I want to double it by Christmas. And we smashed that target. And the thing is, we smashed it. She was like, it's the best month we've ever had in like 2000 or like in like 2 years and stuff. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. What? Yes. And like, I didn't know, to be honest, like I like all of the wins. I just love logging in and seeing all green arrows. Like I am not one, like I will dance at my desk. I will throw myself a little party. Like if I log in and like we're ranking like so where fun. We should.
Up and to the right. Love it. Okay, you're allowed to say Wix, but what are your top 3 SEO tools? Go.
My top 3 SEO tools. Okay, so yeah, one is the Wix CMS. I have my little Wix website. Shout out crystalcarterseo.com.
Check it out.
And I loves it. Also Screaming Frog, like all day for the frog. Like I stand the frog. I would also like to give a shout out to Christina Azarenko and the SEO Pro Tools extension. That is my jam. I love it. I use it all the time. And
any website, just drop down, you get all the information that you need.
All the good stuff. And then she adds in more stuff, and then it's got like quick links to things. And like, I'm such a big fan of Chris. If you're listening, I heart you. You're the best.
Okay, rank your number 1 best SEO trick tactic. What can someone come away from this podcast and try themselves?
My best SEO trick tactic. I wrote this down, but no, I can't remember. Can you give me a hint? What did I say?
Oh man, you put me on the spot.
Okay. My best SEO trick tactic. Oh, okay. This is super simple, and literally everybody can do this. And I don't know, it's super basic, but double check that you have your H1 on your homepage. This is like super basic, but like so many people don't do this, and I know, and I'm like, it drives me crazy when I see it. It makes me so mad. But yeah, that's one that I would say. Also, like I don't know.
Tools give you crap about that too. It's like if you use any SEO tool, they'll be like, why haven't you fixed that yet? Where's your H1? Why is your H1 the same everywhere? Blah 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 blah. And you're like, okay, I'm sorry.
I know I'm saying, but like honestly, it makes such a big deal. So I always max out the homepage. Like make sure that your homepage is big pimpin'. Like make sure that your homepage is a big deal. So always do an H1 on your homepage. Always make sure you have like some like juicy blurb on the homepage, because sometimes people make it too much like a billboard, and that's ridiculous. And like it doesn't have to be first thing first, but you can put it down the bottom. Actually, I've just remembered what my actual tip was.
What was it? Bring it. Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I've said many. Okay. My go-to tip: make a reviews page. You have reviews from lots of different places. That's fine. But make a reviews page that's like, I don't know, like Crystal Carter SEO /reviews and aggregate your reviews from the other places. So like people on Google say this, people on Facebook say this, people on Trustpilot say this, and link to all of them and put your score there or whatever, but you will outrank all of those folks. when you have your own reviews page. I've done it for so many people. It always works. And like, it's like, you don't need a big tech stack to do it, but it always does it.
Oh, I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually used to work for a reviews software. It was for local SEO. So It's like people get very confused about reviews. It's a very interesting space, whether it's like business reviews versus product reviews. But like, I am an evangelist. Like, reviews matter. Because it's social proof, it's expertise, authority, trust, like it's EAT, and it's also, you know, just like Google loves that. Like, they're incorporating. Just the other day, I think Morty Oberstein highlighted in the travel industry how Google Local is now using reviews to surface in like hospitality of like things to do in an area for a hotel. Like, but yeah, if you're a consultant, if you're an agency, if you're just any type of business, reviews are where it's at. Okay, rank what do you love most about SEO?
I love winning. I love winning, and I love being right. I love it when I'm like, we should do this, and people are like, I don't know, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I am sure. And then the thing happens, and then Google comes back and they're like, yes, Crystal, you were correct. And I'm like, I knew it the whole time. I win.
There's nothing more satisfying than like, I've already checked my Google Search Console this morning. I've checked analytics. I'll go to like a few of my favorite keywords and I'll check the SERPs and be like, we moving up, we moving down? Is there a new rich snippet I'm working on it? Okay, right. Aside from your own tool or your own page that you just put out, what is your best learning SEO resource?
My best learning SEO resource. Okay, so aside from the Wix SEO Learning Hub, aside from that one, my best SEO learning resource is probably the Women in Tech SEO Slack channel.
Oh yeah.
We are a lively bunch, and Arish is fantastic and runs a very, very fantastic community full of super clever, super curious, super kind people who help each other to solve SEO problems. And to understand how things are working and to support each other and things. So I think that if I'm ever stuck, that is where I go. Slack lets you search things, so I can like search and figure out what's going on, like, and try to find resources there. People share resources, and like it's an invaluable tool, and it's something that has helped me to learn so much about SEO over the years.
I am not gonna lie, I have serious FOMO when it comes to women in tech SEO. I respect the hell out of Arish. She runs a tight ship. Like, she shared on Twitter like how she keeps that community like active and respectful and supportive and amazing. And I've never been in a Slack, and I understand it's not for me. But like, if you are a woman in any way, you know, SEO, tech SEO, anything, like, I can't imagine why you wouldn't participate and check it out.
I recommend it to everyone all the time. Yeah, it's great.
Rank, okay, we're almost at the end. Rank the top 1 to 3 SEO marketers that you most like respect, look up to, appreciate.
Okay, so Cindy Crum, like, shout out to Cindy Crum, like, who, like, brilliant. I just such a big fan, and have been a big fan. Like, she's really like what inspired me to get into tech SEO at all. Like, I remember seeing Cindy and being like, you're so smart. And then I posted on the Women in Tech SEO Slack channel. They were like, who do you think is cool? I was like, Cindy Crum. And she was like, hey, Crystal, want to hang out? And I was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, SEO nobody. And she was like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh my God, it's you and Barkley the dog. You're the best. And she's awesome. I'm such a big fan. She's so kind and so smart. Yes, and also Alita, who's amazing, and again, so kind, so smart, so supportive of SEOs who are like doing cool things, and it's just like a pillar in our industry, and she's amazing. Shout out to Lily Ray, who's also one of my SEO heroes, who's like so good and so clever, and again, so kind and creative, and like just full of like joie de vivre. And also, like, I'm just gonna give another shout out to Miracle, who's amazing, and she is speaking at MozCon, and she's absolutely one of my inspirations. And she again is so kind and so clever and so just willing to try things. And I think she's like fantastic.
Oh, they're all brilliant. I mean, like, whether Miracle's talking about like forecasting SEO, or like, I love how Lily Ray like gets into the data. Like, Lily Ray is like looking at what's actually happening, which I feel like doesn't happen enough in our SEO world. Obviously, Alita is just resource, whether it's like her newsletter or, you know, learning SEO. So giving. And then finally, rank your number 1 cause or charity that you want to promote.
So I'm going to shout out to Libraries Unlimited, which is a libraries charity. But I'm based in the West Country of the UK, and we are the library for like all of Devon. There's like 57 locations, and it's a fantastic charity. I'm on the board, and they do amazing things. And I think libraries are such a fantastic resource. I remember going to the library to go on the internet back in the day on like Netscape. You know what I'm talking about, Garrett.
You
know what I'm talking about.
Go to your GeoCities,
This is exactly, get your library card, because you've only got 15 minutes. Somebody else needs time.
Oh my God, they need so much internet help. They need so much internet help.
So much. And the funny thing I think about that when I think about those days of being on AOL, like the early days, and waiting on dial-up and getting mad when somebody picked up the phone because you got booted off, was like, what were we even looking at? There was nothing on the internet. What were we even doing? I don't understand.
How many of us are like still have our identities tied to our original like AOL screen name, you know? Like it's still out there somewhere. We all do, whether it's a password or whether it's like, some remnants on the Wayback Machine. That's a great cause. Crystal, dude, I could talk to you forever. If people want to find you online, I mean, speaking of like supportive giving people, you are always like helping out. How can people find you online? Where do you hang out?
On Twitter, mostly, and 80% of my online stuff is Twitter. So yeah, I'm Crystal on the web at Twitter. I'm also on LinkedIn, but I normally just repost stuff from Twitter or just show up and like things. I'm not going on LinkedIn to like give anyone any inspirational stories about.
I hate that. I feel like we should be on LinkedIn, but it's like Twitter so much more fun. Dude, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. So much interesting stuff. Check out like the shout out to Crystal's website to get those women made by women SEO articles. Check out Wix, the whole SEO learning hub is amazing. If you're going to MozCon, go say hi to Crystal. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. My name is Garrett Sussman of iPullRank. This has been Rankable. We will catch you shortly. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.